you know?
Robert, I want to ask you, the name of our site is awakening.com, and so we have a
Yeah,
little tradition here. And I
good.
would like to ask you, in light of our tradition, what is
Yeah.
awakening to you? Is this is
Okay.
this awakening these little practical moments, or is there a big awakening? Could you speak to that?
These little practical moments are all a tiny bit of the big awakening. And,
Good.
and the big awakening has already happened, actually, to anybody who has achieved the human life form.
Mm. Mm.
It's a very difficult evolutionary thing, which even
Interesting.
materialists will agree. To be a human being, we're such a complicated being. And we're so capable of being fantastic saints and Buddhas and things. And also, of course, we can be horrible, demonic mass murderers too. And our virtue as a human being is that we're very unhardwired. So
Mm.
our education and how we cultivate ourselves is all important. And this whole meditation thing that goes on, that's not a special thing about Buddhism. Everybody meditates. Actually, Americans meditate watching commercials and watching news.
Oh, that's interesting.
When they watch the news, they meditate in fear and paranoia because the news tells them all horrible things are happening.
Yes.
And when they watch commercials, they meditate dissatisfaction and and greed for more things, more material things, because that's what those are about. And those are meditations. In other words, they shape their mind and their reactions. So we all are meditating all the time. But the real thing that we have it in our own culture, and Buddhism reinforces it, is education, bringing out from within our human soft hearts kindness. We're mammals. We're all helpless infants for years. Even adolescents are still helpless, although they'll never admit it. It's my own life. I want to live it, etc. But actually, they still need a lot of help.
And you don't know anything.
Exactly, exactly. They still need a lot of help.
Yeah.
And human beings like that. So exactly shaping ourselves toward the good, towards the happiness, towards the effective, towards the kindness and this, and not towards the angry and the unhappiness and the misery and the inflicting misery on others is really critical. Our
Mm.
education is so critical. And that's why governments, either police states or even other ones, they're always out there trying to educate. They were trying to control education because they know that's how people will develop internalized systems of self-control or self-obedience, to the authorities. So every human being is already totally awakened compared to your crocodile.
Mm.
And then human beings have all the capacity of becoming kind, and even the bad guys are kind to somebody. They're friendly to their lover, they're friendly to a child, they're to their kin and everything. So all they have to do is learn to expand that aspect of themselves and to diminish the hostile, aggressive, domineering aspect of themselves. And more things in modern technology of civilization are forcing them to be aware of other people. And Facebook is like a global mind,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah.
And it has, and like there are problematic things in the global mind, they also pop up in Facebook. But the main thing deep inside it is you really see that Chinese people are humans. Chinese people see that Euro whiteys, although I don't think we're really white. I don't like that category. We're all blotchy pink. That's what. So you have
Yes.
yellow, black, red, and blotchy pink, and that's what we have. Forget
Very.
this white stuff.
Yeah.
Only clowns with white paste on their face are white, right? So my point is that awakening. There's endless degrees of awakening. A Buddhist society in ancient time, like Tibet was, fully Buddhist. You could say mainstream Buddhist. That's
Mm-hmm.
not doesn't mean everybody's perfect. But in such a society, it is acknowledged that the humans' most important thing that they do in life is learn,
Mm.
is transform themselves and flourish and evolve. Their productivity for the collective is also important, but not the most important, because there is abundance on earth if it's not abused. The earth provides enough for everybody. And if it's not abused, and if people don't hoard, and if people don't overdo, you
Yes.
know, and so there is enough. That's it. It's the plants love us. They bring us oxygen every
Yes.
day. They all like us, even the weeds. They
Yes.
like us if you understand who they are, And we eat the weeds, actually, really, basically. And so everyone, the human being, only needs to edukere, to have bled out of their deep heart the basic love that has made them human, and the ethicality and the sensitivity to others, and the ability to imagine that they are the other, to empathize.
Does this
Humans have that.
does it require meditation?
It could, at some stage, yes. Like when you learn a language, like a different language, you first learn some words and you write them down, you memorize a little bit, but then you have to repeat and repeat and repeat.
Yeah.
And that's meditation. That's a kind of meditation. Meditation doesn't just mean sit there with nothing in your mind. There's a kind of meditation like that. It's kind of like Prozac. It's a tranquilizer, but it will not actually really transform you. It just gives you a rest. To transform yourself, your meditation has to aim at some kind of bringing out the higher qualities, the greater openness in your being. And if any human being who does that will find that the essence of the human being is openness, actually. Compared to crocodile. Mr. Crocodile is not sitting there thinking about what the other crocodile is thinking and like, let's work together and have a football team. They're not thinking that. They just want to go and grab something and eat it, because they're wired only, they have a limited brain and body only to do that. A human being can completely multi-optional. What should I do today? Like who and what? And then somebody comes in with a vibe and then they feel that person's vibe. But they can't help themselves. We're incredibly sensitive beings, and all we have to do is really learn to trust the universe. We're taught by authorities that the universe is dangerous, something awful is going to happen. And of course, all those who do that, they pretend that they know some safety place, like the materialists claim that safety is dying. Once you're dead, you're safe. That's their one version. It's like an ultimate opioid. They promise you. Your Christian says Jesus will save you. Buddhist says Buddha will save you. But actually, what Buddha says and Jesus said is if you open your heart, you'll be saved. That's the key thing for the human being. And so that's where we are in history. And I'm incredibly optimistic, as is the Dalai Lama. And everybody's turbulent, you say now, and everybody's freaking out, right? It's all like up in the air. And that's a sign of hope. Why?
Because it's like a kick in the butt.
No, yes, partly. But partly it's because the structures of domination, which is kind of a political science definition of a government, is that entity that has the legitimate use of violence within its territory. So they're behaving violently. That's not the way to govern. That's not democracy. The government is the servant of the people, not the dominator of the people, actually. That's the key of what democracy, that's the dream of democracy. And so the fact that the top level are so disconnected from the needs of the people, and they're so into only serving some other oligarchs and not the people, all of them. They even signed pledges like we're not going to increase the strength of the government to serve the people. No way. It's every man for himself, because the oligarchs want that, because then they know they can dominate everybody without the government to protect the people. And that's what's happening. And because they're so massively incompetent, that's a sign that they really have outlived their usefulness as that type of government.
Right.
And the people's goodwill and the loving mothers of the world and the gentle people of the world finally are going to have their voices heard. And it's going to happen. Really, it really is. And here I want to say one thing, because I'm talking probably through you to Awaken to a very liberal bunch of people. And I want to say this. Let's not blame Hillary. We have to remember she did win the election. She was cheated out of it by all kinds of scams, not just the Russians either. All kinds of voter exclusion, ID laws, oligarchic scams. And what she's doing in her book is she's decided she must speak out about the present danger of a disconnected government. That's actually
Good.
trying to destroy itself. They're trying to destroy its ability to serve the people. Did you ever notice that?
Yes.
If you sign a pledge saying I'll never raise a tax to pay for, health care for
Right.
people, to pay for cleaning up the environment, to pay for any service that people actually need, daycare centers. I'll never do that, even if it goes bankrupt. I'll block it. Then that means you have not taken your oath of office. It means you're impeaching yourself before
Sure.
you even sit in the chair in the office.
Yeah.
Nobody's kind of put that together. So that means
Interesting.
they have already they won an election by money, advertising, brainwashing, but and vote and distorted vote counting. But then once they're there, they say, well, we're here to destroy the office,
Contrary to the whole post.
contrary to their oath of office,
Yeah.
which says they are there to serve.
Yeah.
So therefore, may they not serve. May they go back home and play golf.
Yeah.
No problem. And people who actually want to serve, may they go and do the things that everybody knows have to be done. That are every simpleton knows. You don't dump a bunch of poison water all over the underground,
Sure.
around people's water table. You don't build in a floodplain. You don't. I mean, it's really simple.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not rocket science. And so I applaud Hillary won,
Yeah.
and she is speaking for the heart of the people, and we should respect that. Al Gore was also cheated, but he didn't say anything. He said, "Oh, it's all corrupt. I can't talk." And he did great things on making his movie.
And he just
But-
made another one. So,
But on the other hand, while he did that, and we all thought that's great about the environment, so he's educating us, that's great. But he turned over the thing to people who did the opposite and continuing the process of destroying everything,
yeah.
pumping out the oil and the gas. So actually, he let the criminals in the levers of power. And she's saying, no, I'm going to speak up. I don't care if people say I'm a sore loser or whatever they want to say. Actually, this is a danger, and we can't do business as usual here. I believe she's sort of trying to say, of course, she herself is a total Girl Scout, and she thinks you're supposed to believe in the system. But when the system is corrupt, you have to speak out.
Yeah.
And I honor her for doing so. And liberals should stop this thing of blame. Oh, she's such a bad campaigner. Oh, I don't like the way she talked. Oh, she should have talked back to Trump in a different way. Oh, this, oh, that. Oh, she should have hugged Bernie harder. And of course, she should have. But she still won. So that means we don't get depressed. You understand? If people think that this insane bunch of loonies up there, who are like bad golfers even, are what the American people wanted, then they naturally will become very depressed.
Yeah.
Actually, the American people didn't want that. It's been foisted upon them, and we should remember that. But that doesn't mean we should violently try to overthrow. It means we should be sorry for the people who are in a position where they're unable to function.
Right. Right.
And we should applaud somebody who calls out the clear and present danger in a form of dialogue, And that's what Dalai Lama tries to do for the whole planet. He says this is a danger. No more war. Dialogue instead of violence. He even shocked me the other day when I interviewed him some time ago for Rolling Stone. And he said, ISIS, talk to them. So I said, what do you mean talk to them? They'll shoot me, cut my head. He said, oh, well, after you've kind of taken away the sword, whatever, But then talk to them. They're also human. They're just going crazy there. But everyone has to be talked to. Right? Some need therapy, but we have to dialogue. And then we make a rule. We don't behave like them. We don't go and cut their heads off. We have to defend ourselves. But once that's the case, we then talk to them. No matter how crazy we think they are, we try to talk to them. Maybe they need to be restrained a little bit, yes. But then we talk. We don't act like we bomb them and that'll solve it. Because it's not solving it.
It's so true. The consensus is that there just is no reasoning with these people. So it would have been shocking to hear that.
That's right. I was shocked.
Yeah.
I was, I'm going to get decapitated, which I don't want to be.
Do you have anything else you'd like to share with our Awaken listeners? And as promised, it's about that time. You have a 2:00
I know.
appointment.
I do. Well, it's not absolutely rigid. It's just it's not a thing, but it's not a performing thing. It's like a person thing. So the guy can wait a minute. So it's all right. And I love talking to awakened people.
Thank
And
you.
we hear about lucid dreaming,
Yes.
where
Fascinating
you can
topic.
learn to be conscious in your dream, which doesn't mean that you still don't learn about your unconscious from the dream like shrinks want you to do, but it means that you can learn more deeply because you can decide to focus on this or that, and you can be aware that you're dreaming and still be in the dream, right? That's
Yes.
called lucid dreaming.
Yes.
And and a little bit mindfulness is like a beginning element. Learning something is the first step, actually, before mindfulness. And then mindfulness is that type of thing, or conscientiousness, you could say, for a Westerner, is same thing as mindfulness, is a very good step. And so that's a really very good thing to do. And actually, I forgot the point I was saying.
Well, that's interesting, though.
lost-
Lucid dreaming is a bit like
Oh,
bringing
yeah.
mindfulness into your dreams, and that's a
right.
fascinating
And
way
so
to put
what I'm
it.
saying is, what we should strive to do is to be lucid waking.
Yes.
And
Yes.
the mindfulness is heading us to that direction. And so, for example, but that means that you observe the way your reactive mechanisms by just watching your mind work a little bit and analyzing the voice inside you that tells you, oh, I hate that. Oh, I can't stand the other. Oh, that one's not worthy of living. But, whatever it might be. Or, oh, I must have that. Oh, I don't care. I'll compromise my ethics and I'll go get that. Obsession, these things, you can watch how they function, and you can learn to question your voice that says to you, you must have this or you must hate that, which you think is your voice and your only voice. And therefore you're helpless when it pushes you to do something. You have to act on your impulse. So mindfulness gives you some space on your impulse. And I want to use the example of the great and the beloved Eckhart Tolle, who's not a Buddhist, but he had his own story, how he saved himself. And he wasn't necessarily already doing Power of Now, actually. If you go back to one of his books where he tells this story, he was in a depression cycle going down the drain where he was about to commit suicide.
Yes.
And he was listening to himself, a voice that he thought identified with, and he thought it was his only voice, saying, you're worthless, the world is worthless, it's worthless, the only thing to do is just get out of it and destroy yourself. And this voice was talking him down the drain,
Yeah.
right? And the way he was saved is another voice in him from somewhere, which at first he didn't maybe quite know what it was, said to the voice that was trashing him, said, why should I listen to you and follow your advice? And maybe you're not giving me the right picture here. And so a different voice came and was critically engaged with the voice that was driving him impulsively to self-destruction, and said, I don't have to listen to you. You're not that. You don't control me. So in other words, he developed a more resilience of identification. And that was an exercise of mindfulness. You don't have to call it Buddhist. That's what mindfulness does. You develop another kind of, by taking your memory, the word for mindfulness just is the same word in Sanskrit as remembering. So what you're doing is you're just remembering that you're awake and you're here and you're thinking something. But the memory mind is its second mind that can look critically at the impulsive mind, the habitual mind. And so everyone can do that. And it doesn't make you a Buddhist. You don't have to be a Buddhist. You can just be more awake to the processes within you that are taking place and gain more control and leverage over them so that you can't be pushed into things that you later will regret doing. Like poor Harvey, Harvey didn't want, I can't take this call, just hold on a second. I can't do it right now. Harvey doesn't want to become disgraced and have all the beautiful actresses in Hollywood end up hating him and all that. He didn't want to, but he couldn't control some impulse that said, I should go grab somebody. So he needs some kind of, and therapy, actually psychotherapy is mindfulness, but there it's a second voice at first is your therapist. And they don't even speak. They just observe so they won't be an inappropriate voice, because they have to know what all your inner voices are, which you then open up to say to them. And then at some point, they reinforce your critical voice. So it's a kind of extended, a little bit laborious way of going into mindfulness.
What happened to Eckhart Tolle, but they're taking the place of the second voice.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And Tolle, luckily, because we wouldn't have had all his marvelous teachings, he luckily found that came out of his heart, probably came from his mom. Maybe the voice that was after him was a dad or some ancestor telling him you're worthless. And his mom's voice, he didn't recognize it right away, maybe as her voice. Maybe he was afraid of identifying with a female voice, whatever. He didn't know which side of the bed is buttered, like some men don't. And so he didn't hear it before, but then he suddenly heard it in that extreme situation. So everybody has this multiplicity of things, and that doesn't mean there's wrong with them. It means they're more self-aware of how they've been conditioned in their educational life, because what the human being is a learning machine. And we're all here to learn and flourish. And because we definitely can count on a future lives, many of them, or maybe we want to think it's just one, that God gives us, whatever we think, it's fine. But everyone intuitively knows that everything in nature is continuity. There's no, newsflash to the Awaken audience. Nothing is nothing. It's not a place where you can go. So no one gets to go there. Everyone always goes somewhere else. And if they know that, if they will listen to their intuition that is the case, because that's everything that's ever happened in nature, second law of thermodynamics about energy, then they become concerned as to where they're going to go. And that makes how your mind is now, that it be more open to be able to deal with whatever comes up and more aware of it. It gives you, that's your whole purpose in life. Totally.
Beautifully
and
put.
Huh?
Beautifully put. Yeah.
Awaken, my last moment to awaken people is be lucid waking. Let's all be lucid waking.
Love it.
And that will help us be lucid dreaming, be lucid activists, be loving and happy. And eventually even we can lucidly die and be reborn with a nice mom in a good neighborhood and a good dad in a good family, and continue to learn and then continue to love and help other beings. Okay?
It sounds good to me. And again, I thank you for your time. We at Awaken thank you for your time, Robert Thurman, and sharing your knowledge with us and your experiences. Thank you.